Welcome to Sleepy Classic Tales. The Great Gatsby was published in 1925 and written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It is one of the most influential American novels of the 20th century, a story about hope, illusion, wealth, and the fragile nature of dreams. This is our own calmly told short version, clear, structured, and perfectly suited for falling asleep. Part 1. A Summer Full of Promises. My name is Nick Carraway, and this is the story of a summer that changed everything. In 1922, I moved to Long Island, to the American East Coast, into a small, modest house in a place called West Egg. West Egg is filled with people who have recently become rich: businessmen, speculators, adventurers, artists. Their houses shine like palaces, and their parties last until morning. My own little house is plain and almost insignificant, but right next to it stands a mansion that towers above everything else. A huge, bright, almost fairy tale villa that looks as if it belongs to a king. A man lives there whom everyone knows, but whom hardly anyone has ever truly met. J. Gatsby. He is a legend in West Egg. Rumors surround him that he was a war hero, that he made his fortune in mysterious ways, that he is involved in dangerous business, or that he comes from an aristocratic family. No one knows what is true, and that is exactly what makes him so fascinating. Part 2. Daisy and Tom. Only a short drive away lies East Egg, the home of old established families, people who inherited their wealth rather than earning it. There live my cousin Daisy Buchanan and her husband Tom. Tom is strong, loud, confident, and clearly someone who is used to getting his way. Daisy, by contrast, seems light, warm, and friendly. But beneath her voice lies a trace of sadness that one notices only if one listens very closely. During my first visit, I also meet Jordan Baker, a professional golfer who is calm, cool, and rarely unsettled by anything. She observes the world with a look that seems both tired and knowing. As we eat dinner, light from the bay pours through the open doors, and the conversation keeps drifting into hints and half-spoken thoughts, unspoken tensions between Daisy and Tom, something dark that no one addresses directly. When I drive back to West Egg that evening, I have the distinct feeling that beneath these perfect facades, something is already beginning to crumble. Part 3. The Green Light. Later that night, when I arrive back at my small house, I notice a lone figure standing at the water's edge in the darkness. A man, standing still, almost motionless, as if he were whispering something to the bay. It is Gatsby. He stretches his arms slightly forward as though trying to grasp something at the far end of the water. And there, faintly glowing in the darkness, is a green light. A small, flickering point in the distance. I watch him for a while. He looks vulnerable and, at the same time, filled with longing. In that moment, I understand that this green light means something to him, something important, something that drives him forward. But I do not yet know how much pain and how much hope are hidden within that light. Part 4. The Nights of the Parties. The summer gains momentum, and the nights in West Egg grow louder, brighter, and wilder. In Gatsby's villa, the lights seem to burn almost every night. Music drifts across the lawn, cars arrive, and doors stand open. People whom Gatsby barely knows come in crowds: actresses, stock market speculators, young women in shimmering dresses, men with cigars, journalists looking for stories. The guests drink, laugh, dance, jump into the pool, change clothes, and eventually drive away again in the early hours of the morning. And yet, something strange remains behind. For all the noise, the villa feels lonely. The parties are large but not warm. There is no true closeness, no real connection. People celebrate themselves, not the host. Gatsby himself rarely appears in the middle of the crowd. He prefers to watch from a distance, like a stranger in his own house. Part 5. The First Meeting. One evening, Gatsby finally speaks to me directly. He is polite and controlled, but there is something nervous in his voice. He invites me to dinner, drives me through the city in his shining yellow car, and begins to tell me fragments of his life. He speaks of an upbringing in Europe, of heroic acts during the war, and of a great inheritance. But as he speaks, I quickly sense that he chooses his words carefully, as if he were hiding something, as if parts of his past were not quite as brilliant as he wants them to seem. Eventually, he confesses his true reason for approaching me. He wants me to arrange a meeting with Daisy. Not a grand reunion, not at one of his parties, but quietly, discreetly, over a cup of tea in my small house. And only now do I fully understand. The green light at the end of the bay leads directly to Daisy. She was once Gatsby's great love, and he believes he can simply reclaim the past if he can only get close enough to her again. Part 6. The Day of Truth. The day of the meeting approaches, and Gatsby is almost unrecognizable. He has my little house cleaned, sends a gardener, brings flowers, replaces cups, and paces nervously, trying to appear calm. When Daisy finally arrives, the air between them is at first filled with uncertainty. Gatsby looks like a boy who does not know whether he is welcome. But gradually the tension melts away. They laugh, they remember, they rediscover feelings that never completely disappeared. Gatsby glows, as if the entire world were suddenly possible again. Daisy, too, seems for a brief moment to forget that she is married. For an instant, it appears that Gatsby might be right, that the past can return. But the moment is fragile, like a soap bubble floating over an abyss. Part 7. A Summer That Begins to Turn. The summer grows hotter. The air hangs heavy over Long Island, and the mood in this small world of money and glamour begins to shift. Gatsby and Daisy now meet regularly. He shows her his house, leads her through the tall, bright rooms, opens closets filled with custom-made shirts in every color, as if trying to prove that he has become someone worthy of love. Daisy seems enchanted, and yet torn. She smiles, but in her eyes there is a shadow, a doubt she does not want to voice. Tom begins to sense what is happening. He watches Daisy, her nervousness, her gaze when Gatsby is nearby. Outwardly he smiles, but inwardly he grows hard and still, like a man who feels that someone has entered his territory. Part 8. The Drive to New York. On a particularly oppressive day, we all drive together to New York. Tom, Daisy, Gatsby, Jordan, and I. The heat presses down on the streets, the taxis are overcrowded, and the air feels as though it clings to the skin. We rent a hotel suite, drink cold water, open windows that bring little relief. Tom uses the suffocating atmosphere to confront Gatsby directly. He mocks him about his past, his parents, his supposed inheritance. Gatsby tries to remain calm, but Tom sees the cracks forming in his carefully constructed facade. Then Tom strikes the most vulnerable point. Daisy. He demands that she say clearly whom she loves. Daisy hesitates, breaks off sentences, tries to satisfy both men. She says that she loved Gatsby, but also Tom. And in that moment, Gatsby finally understands that the past cannot be restored as completely as he had always believed. Part 9. The Return Drive. We drive back to Long Island separately. Tom drives with Jordan and me. Daisy drives with Gatsby in his yellow car. The atmosphere is heavy as lead. As we pass through the Valley of Ashes, we see people gathered excitedly near George Wilson's garage. Police stand in the road, and a lifeless body lies in the dust. We stop and learn what has happened. The woman who ran into the street was struck and killed by a yellow car. It is Myrtle Wilson, George's wife, and Tom's secret lover. George is beside himself with grief, and someone tells him it was a yellow car. Tom says nothing. His gaze is hard, closed, unreadable. And in that moment, I know. This night will have consequences that no one can control. Part 10. The night after the accident. The night after the accident lies heavily over Long Island. In Tom and Daisy's house, the lights are on, but from the outside the building looks sealed off, protected. Gatsby stands outside in the shadows, hidden near the bushes, watching the house. He waits. He wants to be sure that Daisy will not get into trouble. For it was not he who was driving the yellow car, but she was. He takes the blame without hesitation. To him, it seems self-evident. Daisy is the center of his life. Everything else is secondary. I go out to speak with him once more. We talk quietly while the house glows dimly from within. I ask Gatsby whether he truly believes Daisy will leave Tom and begin a new life with him. Gatsby answers with a calmness that is both touching and tragic. He believes that the past can be restored if one only holds on to it strongly enough. He sees only the moment when Daisy once loved him and blocks out everything that followed. Part 11. Tom and Daisy. Inside the house, there is no open argument. Tom and Daisy sit at the table, barely eating, speaking softly. But within this quiet conversation lies something cold, a silent agreement. They are not happy, but they know each other. They know the rules of their world. They know how to ignore unpleasant truths or let others bear the consequences. Daisy will not go to Gatsby. Tom will make sure no direct suspicion falls on him, and both will attempt to continue their lives as if nothing has happened. They let others carry the weight. Part 12. Suspicion and the search. While all this unfolds, George Wilson sits alone in his small garage. He is broken by grief. His wife Myrtle is dead. He has few words, few tears. Only an emptiness that fills everything. Neighbors tell him that Myrtle had long been involved in a secret relationship with a rich man, and someone mentions that a yellow car had often been seen in the area. George connects the two things, the death of his wife and the strange, conspicuous car. He learns that the car belongs to Gatsby, and in his despair, a thought hardens within him. The man with the yellow car must be responsible. Without a clear plan, but driven by pain and anger, George sets out to find the person he believes is guilty. Meanwhile, on the other side of the bay, Gatsby senses none of this. He sees only Daisy's house, which slowly grows darker until all the lights go out. For him, this night is still a night of hope. Part 13. The Last Morning. The next morning, the world feels quieter, almost too quiet, as if the air itself were holding something back. Gatsby has not slept. He wanders through the empty rooms of his house, stops at the window and looks out across the bay. He waits for Daisy to reach out, a message, anything. But the phone remains silent. I visit him once more. I see the exhaustion in his face, the hope clinging to something that has already shattered. I tell him that it might be better to leave for a while, to gain time, to find peace. But Gatsby refuses. He cannot leave Daisy. He still believes she will choose him. He decides to go for a swim in the pool before noon. Summer is ending, and the water feels cold and inviting at the same time. Perhaps he hopes this moment will bring him calm. Part 14. The Shot by the Pool. At the same time, George Wilson walks through the streets of West Egg. He moves slowly, almost in a trance. He asks for directions, speaks to passers-by, until he finally reaches the great villa by the water. He does not know who Jay Gatsby truly is. He knows only the yellow car, the pain, and the belief that this rich stranger killed his wife. He walks through the open garden gate. No one stops him. The villa is silent. Gatsby lies on an air mattress in the pool, looking up at the sky, as if, for a moment, he were free from everything that weighed on him. George sees him, whispers a few incomprehensible words, and then draws the gun. A single shot echoes through the garden. Gatsby slips from the mattress into the water. Then, a second shot. When I arrive later, the water is still, glittering in the sunlight, as if it does not know that a life has ended within it. Gatsby dies alone. No one is with him. No one calls his name. Part 15. An empty morning. The days that follow are heavy. I try to reach people, friends, acquaintances, guests, all those who attended his parties, ate his food, enjoyed his music. But no one wants to come. No one feels responsible. No one was ever truly close to him. The villa is empty. The phones remain silent. Everyone tries quietly to slip out of Gatsby's life. In the end, only a few people stand at his funeral. His father, an old servant, and me. A man who entertained thousands is bid farewell by 3. This moment imprints itself deeply within me. The loneliness, the truth behind all the glitter finally stands, fully revealed. Part 16. Farewell to a World. After Gatsby's death, I see Long Island with different eyes. I see superficiality, selfishness, the emptiness behind wealth. I see people who avoid responsibility and leave their own mistakes for others to bear. Tom and Daisy disappear without saying goodbye. They leave behind the wreckage, as they always do. The green light at the end of the bay is once again just a light, a small point in the darkness. Its magic is broken. I pack my things and move back to the Midwest, to a place where life feels quieter, where the ground seems firmer than in this glittering world. And yet sometimes, on a still evening, when I think of the water, I see Gatsby before me, how he stretched out his arms, gentle and hopeful, as if he could grasp the future with his bare hands. He believed in the dreams America promised. He believed in love, in new beginnings, in reclaiming the past. And although everything ended tragically, a part of him remains, like a spark in the darkness. A spark that says, sometimes hope is greater than life. That was our calm, short version of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, a story about hope, deception, and what happens when people believe they can bring the past back to life. While listening, you might have wondered why this book is called The Great Gatsby, and what truly makes Gatsby great. Why he hosts such enormous parties when he barely enjoys them himself, or how F. Scott Fitzgerald's own life shaped this story. We explore these questions and many more in our companion book, Golden Pages, Volume 1. The link can be found in the description. Good night, and if you like, we'll listen to each other again tomorrow.